with something to no avail. He set out to kill Jacob, Genesis 27. Now on the run, Jacob had an unforgettable encounter with the living God where he revealed the promise he has made to his grandfather, Abraham, and father, Isaac, to birth a nation through him, Genesis 28 and 10 through 17. As Jacob continues his journey, he moves eastward. He meets up with some men tending flock from Haran and is 400 miles northeast of Canaan, and learned that they work for his uncle Laban, his father's brother. Jacob's life would forever be changed as he meets the love of his life, Rachel, who was tending sheep with them, Genesis 29, 1 through 10.
So this is the backstory, and this is what's going to lead up to giving you a history of who Jacob was is an important part of the lesson, because we get to understand why Laban treated Jacob the way that he did. Jacob was a trickster himself, right? He did a lot of things that were not appropriate in his life as well. So, you know, it's that saying, you reap what you sow. What you put out is what you're going to get back. I don't think he expected it to be that way, you know, to be the way that it came back, but it did come back to him. So we can say that this is one of the things that I took from this, because there's more than one lesson in this lesson. There's deeper lessons in this lesson. So he comes to Laban, and Laban says, tells him, you know, he doesn't have a dowry, right? And that's what men paid the woman's family to take the woman. That's been done many, many thousands of years. So he didn't have a dowry. So Laban was like, his wheels were already turning, like, okay, he doesn't have money to give me for my daughter, right? So he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let him work for me, knowing that he was going to trick him. He knew it already. Once he saw him, once he came in, and he knew that Jacob was a hard worker, he knew that I'm going to get some free labor out of this man. And that's pretty much what he got, right? So my other lesson in this lesson says, so when he came there, when Jacob came there and had this conversation with Laban, right? And when Jacob saw Rachel, he knew he wanted Rachel. He knew that, right? He didn't even look at Leah. He never even thought about Leah, right? But because I've studied this with someone, like deeply studied this with someone, right? You got to think about, sometimes in our lives as human beings, we are so hyper-focused on one thing, right? So we come up and say, okay, that's what I want. So Rachel was his focus, was his one thing, right? So he's like, oh, she's so beautiful, oh, right? And they talk bad about Leah. She was tender-eyed. Some people say she was cross-eyed. I just say she was aesthetically challenged. That's what I say. I don't say ugly. She was just aesthetically challenged. So all he knew in the end was, I want Rachel. That's all he knew. And when her father said, come work for me and you can have Rachel, right? So that was the trick. The trick was, I'm going to give you Rachel, but he knew he was never going to give Jacob Rachel. He was never going to do that. But the lesson that I drew from that, one of the lessons that I drew from that was, we can be so hyper-focused on something that we want that we miss all the detail out here, right? So the detail is, Jacob should have said, okay, what's the customs here? What are the customs in this land? Because the custom was, you can't marry a younger daughter before you marry the older daughter. So what he missed was, he didn't get it. He didn't ask and say, is this correct? Can I really marry her? Can I really marry Rachel? So guess what? He got 7 more years of work when all he had to do was ask and say, or do his own research and say, okay, what are the customs of the land? Can I have her? Can I truly have Rachel? He didn't do that. So at the end, this is what we do. This is what we do, because I've done it. I've looked at something and I was so super hyper focused on that thing that I didn't read the small print, right? So when I didn't read the small print and I got to the end and I was supposed to get it, guess what? Wait a minute, did you read that? This says this, isn't it? No. Well, you can't have it. That's what he did. He pretty much shortchanged himself by not asking the right questions. This is the other lesson that I got. We as believers, we as people, we as humans, we have to do that. We can't be so linear focused on the thing that we want, whether it's a relationship, and guess what? Relationships, I know that happens in relationships. When you call yourself being in love with somebody, you call yourself wanting to be next to somebody, that's what we do. We miss all the stuff out here. You didn't run his background. You don't know if he's a serial killer. You don't know if he's got money or not. All you know, and that's what Jacob, all he knew was, I want Rachel. You want to say something, sir?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say, I got tripped up like that. I got tripped up.
Wait for the mic. There you go.
I got tripped up like that. But this is referring to an automobile.
Okay.
I went and bought a car, but I didn't read the fine print.
There
like
you go.
you said.
There you go.
And then I got tricked. But I had to live with it because I signed the contract.
There you go.
You understand? Once I signed that contract, then I'm obligated. And that put me in a bad situation.
My God.
But
My God.
Thank God, God got me. I moneyed, but I had to go through some. Had to go through something.
There you go.
To come out money.
There you go. That's a perfect example. That's what we do in whatever, whether it was a relationship, whether it was buying a home. I've seen people buy homes that were horrible and then was in the deal and couldn't get out. Right? That's why I said there's more lessons in this than just Jacob wanting Rachel and having to work 14 years and he got the love of his life and that's a wonderful story. That's it's biblical and it's a wonderful story, but we got to look deeper into why we choose to only focus on one thing, right? When it's time to look at all the details in that, we just don't want to do it. We want what we want when we want it. And we want it quicker sometimes than, and we don't want to wait on God. Don't say wait on God, because we don't want to wait on God. There's a lot of people that say, well, and guess what? I watch people all the time in marriages who let their flesh make the decision for them. Let's just be honest. Let's just call it what it is. People saying, and I done heard some people, well, I prayed about it, and the Lord said, no, he didn't. Because here's what I know about the Lord. The Lord ain't going to pair you with somebody that you ain't going to stay with. He's a perfect God, okay? Anything he does is perfect, right? So he already knows you, and he already knows the other person. So he's not going to pair you with somebody that 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you're going to divorce. He's not going to do that. So just go ahead and say, I didn't read the fine print. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And now I'm in a marriage with somebody that I don't want to be in a marriage with. God doesn't do that, right? And I watch people every single day living in marriages that he in the other room, you in this room, y'all paying bills like roommates. I'm just telling you, that's just what it is. We have to read the fine print. And this is one of the lessons that I got, not just from the typical story of Jacob and Rachel, but we have to pay attention to what we're supposed to pay attention to. Go ahead, sir.
What I was going to say that Laman had some tricks up his sleeve too, because he knew if Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, and then at the end, he couldn't get Rachel. Laban knew he was going to get him 7 more years labor out of him.
He did.
And what he did, he worked 14 years for the bride that he wanted. That's why I say a bride worth waiting for.
Okay. I don't think that's what he intended to do, but because he loved her, he the first 7 was probably, him saying, and it said in there that it didn't feel like 7 years because he was in love with her. He had feelings for her, right? He had deep emotions for her, right? So it didn't feel like 7 years, but that next 7, I don't think it felt like that. I don't think that next 7 felt like that. So I'm going to go to verse 15 and read, and Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? Jacob is working for his uncle Laban. After running from his brother Esau's wrath, he found a home in Haran. Laban is the brother of Rebekah and soon is discovered to exhibit many of the same deceptive traits that Jacob and Rebekah have shown earlier in the narrative. Laban allows Jacob to negotiate for his wages. This word can also mean reward, but in this context, it is used as wages exchanged for work. It is also the same word used by Boaz in asking God to reward Ruth for her commitment to Naomi. So yes, there's a lineage. There's trickery in Jacob's lineage. Rebekah, it wasn't Jacob that did that, but Rebekah did that. She set it up, and Jacob just went along with it. That's just what it was. But there's still trickery in that lineage. 16 says, and Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter. Here, the narrator begins to describe the daughters of Laban, anticipating Jacob's wages. Leah is Laban's older daughter and is described as having weak eyes, meaning tender, faint, or delicate. The text could be saying that Leah had weak vision or that she had lovely eyes. In the first instance, Leah struggles not only with being less physically attractive than her younger sister, but also with her vision. In the second instance, she has her own beautiful traits, but she is still not physically attractive enough to gain Jacob's love. In contrast, Rachel is described as beautiful and well-favored. Both phrases use the Hebrew word for beautiful. The first phrase states that she is beautiful in form, and in the second says that she is beautiful in appearance. In context, both sets of words are used to describe Rachel's loveliness as superior to Leah. Jacob then offers to serve Laban 7 years for Rachel. Being away from home without any family support, Jacob would not be able to pay the dowry or customary bride price. His offer is to work 7 years, made up for his lack of monetary payment, to see a betrothal. That's what I talked about earlier. When you're betrothed, families in those days, when people were betrothed, it didn't necessarily mean that they were in love. It's just that this family and this family came together and said, my son is going to marry your daughter, or my daughter is going to marry your son. That's what betrothal is. So sometimes, and I question this as well, how Laban was able to convince Leah to go along with this, because how many women are someone's going to tell them, you're going to marry this man, you don't know him, you don't love him, you don't have no feelings for him, but you're going to go let him go in onto you, right? So it wasn't necessarily that the two were supposed to be together. That was what the betrothal was. These two are going to come together. So Jacob then offers Laban 7 years mandatory payment. The narrator makes sure to reiterate that Rachel is the younger daughter. This is most likely to draw readers into the deception about to take place, and also to point toward Jacob's deception as the younger brother. Okay, can someone read Tricked into Love?
7 years.
It's Bishop.
tricked into love, verses 19 through 28. The 7 years are up, and Jacob has completed the terms of his agreement with Laban. He approaches his uncle, soon-to-be father-in-law, and demands he upholds his end of the bargain. Laban organizes a wedding feast with the men of his community. Like today, it was custom in Middle Eastern cultures that a banquet would precede the bride and groom coming together. Included in this time of celebration would be plenty of drinking and carousing. Laban threw a party for Jacob, and in the midst of revelry, gave Leah to Jacob instead of Rachel. When Jacob came to himself, he realized that he had been deceived. Verse 25. The trickster got tricked.
Right.
He had consummated, a marriage to the wrong woman, because once a man engaged in sexual intercourse with a virgin, she was his wife. This turn of events allow a blow on Laban's part, but some speculate that Jacob was getting his reward for his deception to his brother and father.
That's right.
Deception runs in the family. Laban gave the perception that he agreed to Jacob's term, but had no intention of ever fulfilling his end of the bargain. Laban says, it is not custom in his community to have a younger daughter marry before the older, and therefore requires Jacob to fulfill his marital duties of the marriage week to Leah, as well as work another 7 years for Rachel. Clearly, Laban was being blessed by Jacob's presence and not inclined to release him.
So, what I said earlier about all the other stuff, of course, this is what they did back in the day, because I know nobody in this time is going to be okay with your husband marrying, a man marrying a woman and then saying, yeah, you can marry me too. Plus, that's polygamy, and that's against the law in most states, so and most countries. So you can't have more than one wife. So, the trickery starts. He got him drunk. He had a feast for him. Hey, come on, let's get him inebriated. Let's get him drunk, so he doesn't have all his faculties, and we're going to send him in onto a woman that he thinks is Rachel, and really it's her older sister that he goes in unto, as they say. It says he goes in unto her. So they say it's not just sexually, but he goes in her presence. I think that's what they said. Deacon, will you read The Power of Love, please?
Power of love. Laban accepts Jacob's offer, saying how it is favor to him as well. By giving his daughter to Jacob, he would give her away to a near relative, and therefore the wealth that she contributes to her new husband will stay in Laban's family too. He asked Jacob to stay as hired labor. Whatever works Jacob had to do during his 7 years of hired labor, watching Laban's flock singing to him but a few days because of the love he had for Rachel. This word for love encompasses human love for family, God, or objects. In this case, it is used for Jacob's desire for Rachel. Although this word has sexual connotation, it is more of an all-encompassing desire of the whole person for another. Jacob was the one who took the initiative to raise the subject of his wife. This shows his eagerness to who could demonstrate the marriage. It also suggests reluctance on Laman's part towards the union, inasmuch as he really did not need to be reminded that Jacob's years of service were fulfilled. The word means to fill or complete in a physical sense of with regard to intangible things such as desire. Frequently, the word is used with respect to time to talk about the completion of a set period or the arrival of a period of time. Genesis 25 and 24, and Leviticus 8:33. In the Old Testament, it is used in the temporal sense less often, but it is that sense which is used here. Jacob's work was completed, and it was time to receive his wages.
So his 7 years was up, and he said, "No, you can't have her." Here's my question. I'm gonna do a little thing here. Who thinks Laban was wrong for not telling him, and who thinks it's Jacob's fault because he didn't ask? He didn't get the information he was supposed to get. Who thinks Laban was wrong? Who thinks it was Jacob's fault? Go ahead.
I think that, first of all, it was Laban's fault because he had devised that from the get-go. And he knew that if he could manipulate the situation the right way, that he could get certain things out of Jacob. And I think that the reason why I don't say it was Jacob's because Jacob was still young and unlearned. And even though he had been a part of trickery before, he still hadn't gained the necessary wisdom to know how to navigate with scrupulous people, because he had been, exposed to trickery through his parents.
Yeah.
So Laban knew exactly what he was doing, and Jacob just did not know the right questions to ask.
Anybody else?
I think Laban was wrong because he said in this country, whoever he said, Jacob came from someplace else, and he didn't know the rules and things in that country. And when he told Laman, that he wanted Rachel for a wife, Laman knew he's supposed to marry the oldest daughter, which was Leah. And he didn't explain things to Jacob like he should have, I think.
Okay. So this is what I said before when we first started, that sometimes when we have a linear focus on things that we want, and he had a linear focus. He didn't focus on anything. He didn't even, like I said, he didn't even look at Leah. He didn't even want to see her. He looked at her, but he did not get the information that he was supposed to get. Go ahead.
Don't you think sometimes we have that focus, but we just overlook it?
You
know what I'm saying? Don't you
yes.
think we know what's right and wrong?
There you go. There you go.
So there are times, sometimes we have to take accountability for what we do.
Come on.
That's right.
Come on.
We can't keep putting it on this person and that person.
Yes.
You can teach a child all day long. I go to work, they get up to be 15, 16, go out and do what they want to do wrong.
Yes.
How is that my fault?
It's not your fault.
Because they have common sense. They're not mentally challenged. I mean, a kid that has no problems. They
Right.
know what they're doing.
Right.
They know. And I know in some states, I know Chicago, some people are made to, you got to do this in order to be, to make it down the street. Don't get me wrong. I know there are certain situations. But I'm talking about on a plain day, you have to take accountability for yourself.
You do.
You can't keep blaming everybody else.
That's right. That's right. That's why. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I agree to a certain extent, but I also believe, like others have said, that he didn't know. like, he did what his mom told him to do, okay? Now he's going to another place. He sees something that he desired. He wants it. He go into the person, the father. The father then say, listen, in order to have my daughter, this is what you got to do according to our culture, our custom.
Yeah.
And I think it's the responsibility. You young, you don't know. You just know what you like, just like a child wants something, and you tell them no. Or you tell them, no, Mama don't have it, they don't have it. And then you explain to them, then they get it, they understand it.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, I do believe that it's the person's. It's just like a person coming into the church, and they desire to do something. They want to do something. You say, you give the order. This is how this and that is done. You sit down. You explain that to that person. Let them understand what it is. You know what I'm saying? Or I want to become a believer in Christ. You disciple them. You teach them. You show them how to go about. So I just think that it's just based on of just being brand new or new to it. You know what I'm saying? So it could go both ways. It could go both ways. And
That's
then
right.
after you taught them and teach them, then they have the choice to say, yeah, I want to do this. Or they could choose to say, no, I don't want to.
Right.
But after you've been on and told them,
that's what I.
then they make the choice if
Yes.
they're going to go with it or not.
That's what I was saying. Like, give him the chance, give him the say-so to say, okay, I don't want to work for you for 7 years for you. But I believe, this is what I believe. I believe had he told him no, had he been straight up and down with him and said, you cannot have her, because the custom of the land is that you can't have the youngest before the oldest. I believe that if he would have told him that, he would have definitely found a different way to do it, right? He still knew he loved her. I do know that, but I'm saying, and I do agree with you. I don't because this is the thing. In our adulthood, we have to apply this to ourselves as believers. Ignorance is never an excuse, okay? We live in a time of the superhighway. Information is everywhere, right? So if you want something, and people do this, I've done it. When I bought my car, I went and researched it out. Do I want this car, right? Do I want this many amenities? Do I want this? How many miles per gallon? You have to look at all of that. But that's what I said, there's a deeper lesson in this than just Jacob wanted Rachel, he fell in love with her. Right. That's wonderful and all, but did you do your research? When you went to the daddy, did you say, can I have her legally? It just didn't happen. And like you said, he was ignorant. He was unlearned. Somebody said unlearned. He was unlearned, and Laban definitely took advantage of that. And guess what? That's what the devil does. The devil will cash in on our ignorance every single time. What we don't know, he's going to use that against us, right? What we do, that's why I said, I didn't say it to say we're going to blame this party. I'm saying the underbelly of this is he should have done his research. And had he got that one piece of information, he wouldn't have had to work like a dog for 14 years, and he consummated with a woman he did not love. And he has 6 babies by her. He has 6 kids with that woman. I mean, they're part of the children of Israel, and that was still in God's plan. Yeah. But it could have went a whole different way had he just asked one question and got the information that he needed, right? And said, okay, this is my choice. I don't want to do it. Or I do want to do it, but can we find a different approach? Because I don't want to work for 14 years. I don't know nobody else, but I don't want to work for 14 years to have a husband. I don't want to do that. Ain't nobody in this world going to do that these days, right? Hey, ain't no man going to come and be like, look, I'll work for your daughter for this many years on your farm. Ain't nobody going to do that, right? You know what I'm saying? And those were different times. Don't get me wrong. Those were different times, but I just want us to understand our part when we approach something like that, when we become linear focused, because really that's what he was. Mm-hmm. He had blinders on. He didn't look out here. He didn't look out there. He said, there's Rachel right there. That's who I want. I want her. I love her. She's beautiful. She's attractive. And sometimes what do? When something is attractive, that makes us want it even more, right? Without even questioning, okay, what do I need to do? What's the small print in this that I need to read, right? That was the point, that to me, that's what first jumped out, because I read the story 1,000 times, right? And I get it, I do understand it. And he did get Laban back. To go on into the story, he did get him back. Now, he had God's help, but he did get him back. He got the money for that livestock that he was taking care of, right? So he got him back, he did, right? But I think the bigger lesson here is that I'm trying to reiterate is we have to go into things that we see, things that are attractive to the eye. We have to go into it with more care, cautiousness. We have to be more cautious about what we do.
Can I say something really quick?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So I was going to say this. In my opinion, at the beginning of their relationship, because they were related and
they were related.
They were related.
Yes, ma'am.
That was his uncle.
Yes.
He had no reason to question him, beyond, being cautious. But out of respect, that is a part of their, with anybody, until you have a reason to question them.
Okay.
Once you find that person to be deceitful, then it clicks. So you will start being more investigative. The reason why I say this is because I have had those experiences.
Go ahead. He's after you. Okay, he's got his hand up.
I've had those experiences where I have not had a reason to question someone because I believed in them. I've heard certain things about them that confirmed that this was a good person, but I got tricked. And then from that day on, it's like I'm cautious about everybody. I learned my lesson. It makes sense what you're saying is what I'm saying, but the reason, out of respect for your elders, them being a kinsman, you not knowing anybody, it makes you vulnerable.
It does.
To believe this person.
So you think, what I'm understanding you to say is you think that kinship is a reason to forfeit gathering information, gathering needed information.
I'm saying I understand his position. I'm not saying I understand his position because you're new to a new land. This is your relative.
She's not really saying because it's skin, just somebody you trust.
Yeah, I'm saying that this is your mother's brother. Out of respect, you have a certain degree of respect for this person, and you find them trustworthy because you have not had that experience.
Any run-ins with them?
Yeah, with him, or even like the things that Jacob did to other people, nobody did to him, So he had a level of respect and, like you said, that linear vision.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have a reason to question him.
Right.
But I learned just like that, just being trusting and vulnerable.
Yes.
How to investigate.
Yes.
And we're like, I don't feel comfortable about this until I do what I need to do.
Right.
But I can understand being young and impressionable. Being young, you're gonna learn some stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna learn.
Go ahead.
It behooves us to do due diligence.
There you go.
Okay? Lust was in play here. And I'm going to say this, a few minutes thrill is not enough to pay a lifetime bill.
It is not. That's right. And guess what? He had 6 babies. He had 6 babies by a woman that he did not want. So can you imagine? Can you imagine what that next 7 years was? It wasn't that the previous 7. It couldn't have been that, because he had a wife who couldn't have kids. Rachel couldn't have kids right away. So she's looking at her, and he also had kids by the help, the handmaids. He had kids by them too. He was tearing up Jack in there. Was he not? just like you said, lust was at play. You thought with the wrong, you know what? You were thinking with that. And guess what? It caused him to have linear focus. And now for that next 7 years, he probably lived through hell. He lived through hell because he had all them kids by all them women. And then you got a wife over here who's looking at all these women and she's saying, I can't have no babies. I can't give him. I mean, she did later. She had 2 later, but she couldn't give him in the beginning when it's supposed to be the greatest in a marriage, right? Not 10 years down the line, but in the beginning, she couldn't give him no kids. Come on.
One of the things, too, people nowadays are thrill seekers.
Thrill seekers. Yes, they are.
They're not God reachers, they're thrill seekers.
Yes, they are. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say, knowledge is power.
It is.
The more you know about something or thing,
That's right.
the better off you will be.
That's right.
Because you can't go into anything blindfolded.
That's right.
Or go into it with your emotion.
There you go.
With your emotion.
Yes.
Because the emotion will trick you. And not only that, I'm going to say this here, that because, like you were saying, Carol, about your family, you have to be careful with your family.
Even with your family, yeah.
Even with your family. Because they're the one that's closer to you.
Yeah.
And they were the one, they know more about you. They know how to manipulate you or whatever. So you have to be careful even with your family.
There you go.
So I'm telling you what I know, what I have experienced in life. That you have to be careful with your family.
You do.
And I'm telling you like it is.
You do.
So you the only thing we can do is trust in God.
That's
and
it.
let God lead us and direct us.
Holy Spirit.
Otherwise, we're going to fall into a pit.
Like he did, like Jacob did. A pit he couldn't climb out of. He could not climb out of that pit, honey. All that stuff that was going on.
He is so right about family because before I got what God had for me, my family was trying to make me marry one of my cousins. What? And did not even tell me that was my cousin.
Well.
That's modern day. That's right here.
Right.
Modern day.
Right.
So I can see the trickery. And you do, even if it's your family, they have to watch you because they'll hide information. I'm talking about generational grandmother, generational auntie. They had the information.
Yes.
And did not provide it. And I researched it and found the information. I said, see y'all later. I'm going to go find me a real bride.
Come on now. Come on. A bride worth waiting for. Come on. Anybody else have any questions before I read the prayer? I think this is a lesson with multiple lessons intertwined into it. You just like you said, you looked at it from a very lustful standpoint. Lust was definitely there. It was all in the details, right? And I think, when I studied this with my mentor, but, when I suggested that, he was more along the lines of let's keep it Jacob and Rachel. Let's keep it on that focus. But my spirit wouldn't allow me to, because that's a lesson to learn. We can apply this to anything in our life. Any decision that we decide to make, we can apply this to anything and say, do I have all the information that I need before I actually make the decision? And did I seek the Lord first? Did I seek him first, right? That's what this is about. That's really honestly what it's about. So does anyone else have anything else in it? Go ahead.
The city does, before they give out dollars and stuff for communities, the city itself does what's called a feasibility report. And what they do with the feasibility report, they hire a contractor to come in. They don't make the decisions themselves. They go out and get another professional that has experience in that area before they make that decision to grant a water leak or to repair a faucet or to repair roads
Right.
infrastructure or to do a crime bill. They go out and we can learn from that.
Yes.
They go out and they do a feasibility report. So I think it behooves us as people of God, we need to start doing feasibility reports
Okay.
before we make decisions
Okay.
about things
Okay.
when it pertains to God and when it pertains to one another. And I think that if we conduct those feasibility reports, there'll be less hurt Christians in the church.
Right. Amen. Very good word. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anybody else before I read the prayer? Who? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read the prayer. Thank you guys for engaging. This was really a good lesson. So the prayer says, Lord, your love for us is so real and true. Your word reminds us that you are committed to loving and caring for us despite our not always loving you. We adore you and bless your holy name. In Jesus' name we pray.